Hello, everybody. My name is Ana Rezende, and in this podcast, I will share my transformational journey to become a health coach. In each episode, I will address a different subject that impacts our health, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. Because I've learned that being healthy means being in balance. If you would like to make amazing discoveries, improve your health, get inspired, and yet find sustainable ways to live and help the planet, tune in. You are in the right place. I'm your host, Ana Rezende, and Good is What Makes You Feel Well is Mama Terra's podcast.
Toma banho de cachoeira, abraça uma pessoa amiga, corre na chuva, escala a montanha, contempla a vista, transcende, levita.
In today's episode, I am talking to Chloe Redmond, the visionary behind Vino Vaquera Consulting, the mindful digital marketing agency where she wears many different hats: influencer, social media manager, luxury event designer, and intuitive consultant. After the amazing opportunity to work for Deepak Chopra's global wellness company in 2020 as a marketing coordinator, Chloe realized mindfulness and marketing can coexist. Now at VVC, she is dedicated to helping entrepreneurs reach their pure potential through intentional and intuitive marketing practices that she also calls conscious entrepreneurship. Chloe is also an intuitive healer, meditation instructor, and Ayurvedic practitioner certified by Chopra. Her mission is to teach others how to put their authentic self into play while targeting their niche and discovering creative partnerships and collaborations. Chloe's energy and enthusiasm are contagious. In our conversation, she shares her story and how her intuition has guided her life and helped her better serve her business. As one of her former clients, I am grateful for all her help in finding different collaborations that gave more visibility to Mama Terra's mission and my work. I also have the honor to call her my friend. Please welcome Chloe Redmond. Hey, Chloe. I feel so honored to have you in this podcast. Welcome to Good is What Makes You Feel Well.
Thank you so much, Anna. The feeling is mutual, and congratulations. I had so much fun listening to your podcast in English and in Portuguese. That was so exciting. Even though I really didn't understand, everything that was being said in Portuguese, I was so blown away that you could do it in two languages. And I just was celebrating with you this weekend. So congratulations. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being in this journey with me and helping me look good.
Well, you do most of the work on that part, but it's a pleasure to help. It's absolutely been magical to get to know you.
Thank you so much. So I would like to start our conversation asking you, in this moment of your life, what makes you feel well?
I asked myself this while I was preparing for the interview today, and I tried to imagine your voice asking this to me. And it is so fun to hear you say it in real time. I love the name of your podcast. It's just so juicy and wonderful. And when I asked myself out loud, what makes me feel well, I think I have found such a newfound wellness and personal growth from really feeling in alignment with our clients this year and our company. And what feels well are celebrating my client wins and being on this joyous adventure with them. Because I think with entrepreneurship, there's a lot of loneliness sometimes that's involved in that. And, entrepreneurs are creatives, and there are people who are capable of having their fingers in 10 different pies at once. And I think that it's so fun to be able to have someone in your corner, and it's so empowering to know that someone is really keeping in mind your physical well-being, your spiritual well-being, you know, and really kind of taking you into full account in everything that makes you an entrepreneur. And so what makes me feel well is sharing these moments with my clients of pure alignment and what that does, and living life in alignment and living life intuition based and really celebrating the wins of other people. That's what makes me feel well. I love being able to celebrate other people and watching other people fly on their journey. I just think is so rewarding. And that, always ties in beautifully to living in the present moment, which is a very trained thing to do. And I know that's such a gentle reminder for all of us every day to try to live in the present moment. But when you do, you're not just able to sink into all of your magical things unfolding in your life, but you're able to witness it for other people. And that is what makes me feel well. I just am in awe of my life right now because I get the opportunity to watch these really beautiful, creative people exceeding on their journey. And just as a journalist and a storyteller and all of the different titles that I hold, that to me is what makes me feel well and what refills my cup every day, is sharing those moments with my clients.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And it resonates with me a lot because doing those collaborations and seeing how we are more powerful when we get together and do things together, that makes me feel really well too. So that keeps my energy up. And one wonderful thing was for me to meet Tyler and being part of what she does, just because it's so magical, like you said, it is really important. The power of community and getting together and supporting in sisterhood. And I think for you to have the opportunity to work with so many different fronts, that might be really not only fulfilling, but rewarding, like you said. It's incredible because as moms and business owners and all the other roles that we play in life, I know that feeling well evolves. So, how for you this has evolved through time?
I think there's such a sweet spot. So, full transparency, I am 35 years old and I can't believe where my life is at 35. And I feel like I am someone who's lived a really big life in a very condensed amount of time already. And the feeling that my soul feels, and we won't get into past life regression and everything else right now, but it feels like it's been here before and I've been here for a long time. And so again, I'm just excited to be in the moment and witnessing these big things unfold, but feeling well in the moment. And so as I'm witnessing myself becoming, what makes me feel well has evolved immensely. And to start, I was raised by a single mom who is the most incredible human on the planet. And we were raised Catholic. I still consider myself a practicing Catholic. And I also have my relationship with spirit. But what's really amazing about that portion of wellness in my life, or what I thought was well or feeling well, equated to being my mom's counterpart. When I was 14 and 15 and 16, I was working every day after school as a young teen. And I had a younger brother and sister. And so what made me feel well was being able to be my mom's partner and helping my brother figure out how to put his football pads in for the first time and, watching my sister's dance recitals. And those are the things that made me feel well, because I understood how important family was. And that was such a foundational piece for me, because I understood my family looked a little different, but it was so open and loving and supportive. And that's what made me feel well for the earliest portion of my life. And then I think what made me feel well as I graduated from high school and I go off on my own to my college adventures and that was such a different level of becoming. And the things that made me feel well were new opportunities and new adventures. And I've always been a connector. I've always been a communicator. And so I fell in love with journalism during that time in my life. And it made me feel well to connect with people on a different level. So my favorite job growing up when I was in high school was a barista. So I loved being able to be the first one to start daily conversation with someone. And sometimes I would go home and journal like my conversations I would have with people because I thought, wow, like, can you believe that they told me that out of all people? Like I got to experience that conversation today with them. Like I might as well write it down, right? It's got to have some importance to it at some point. And so for me in college, I really was able to have that conversation with people on every different level through journalism and really sink into people and what they did and what they wanted to do as an adult, like with the rest of their life. That was such an interesting concept for me to get to sit down with people who were either, heavily already in the entrepreneurial field or heavily invested in a company, or they were a college athlete that was getting ready to be drafted, or whatever the case may be. It was so interesting to hear where passion stems from. And I so quickly became so interested and devoted to these human interest pieces and what makes someone who they are and what sets them on this entrepreneurial path, because it's so vastly different for everyone. And in the most gentle way possible, I want to ask those questions to every single person I meet, because that's just who I am, which I think has really helped me on my intuitive journey through business and through life as well. And then, I had a lot of tragedy in my early 20s. We lost both of my grandparents who, again, being raised by a single mom, my mom's parents were a huge piece of our life and our upbringing. And they passed at the same time in a horrible accident. But because they went at the same time, and because it happened the way it did, their story was told on a bigger scale. And that was really beautiful. And that was also the biggest tragedy that had ever happened in my life or for my family. And so at that part of our life, what felt well as young adults, graduating from college, figuring out what we're going to do with our lives, my brothers and sisters and I were just all trying to figure this out at the same time with this tragic loss. What felt well was to come back together again as the family unit. And that's, my brother and sister were in San Diego and I was in Orange County, and we were all like, okay, that's it. We're coming home and we're going to figure out what this means again as a family. And so what made me feel well at that time was to connect with my family again as young adults who were mourning this huge tragedy, but were also like, wow, this is so nice to just be able to sit with you for a minute and get to know you as an adult, because we've all done these different things. And way we were off, my mom fell in love with the wine industry and was working for a winery up here. And we're like, wow, she's got a whole new life. Like, it was just so cool to sink back into my family and also be able to champion my brothers and sisters and try to navigate what this really big missing piece of our life was going to be like now. And support my mom. And so family again felt well. And then I met my husband 10 years ago, or we started dating 10 years ago. We were friends a couple of years before that. And from the very start with my husband, it has been the most effortless, beautiful journey. And by effortless, I mean loving him, right? With marriages and relationships, of course, there's all kinds of things that pop up, but really loving him and him loving me and accepting me for exactly who I was really powerful for me to have that level of acceptance. Whew, I'm trying to say that without getting emotional.
Oh.
But that was a different level of well-being, and someone stepping up to the plate next to you saying, I support you in anything you want to do on your journey. And that was, I felt well because I was so supported and loved, because my family was growing and opportunities were growing for me. And then I became a mom, which is like, holy moly, the most humbling, insane journey of all time, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I had 3 different totally crazy birth experiences, and they're all boys. And I can't believe I am a mom of 3 boys, and they're so cool. And just to create humans with someone you love so much is so cool. And it just is such a different level of surrender when you become a parent, because you realize all of the crazy shit, excuse me, that is out of your control.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much out of your
Absolutely.
control with being a parent. And I am the farthest from A type you could ever imagine anyway, but I sure learned how to let go of a lot of things by being a parent. And then watching my mom step into a grandmother role is so cool. And seeing the relationships that she has with my kids, that's what makes me feel well, is this unconditional love and listening that resides within my tribe and my family unit and my close circle of friends. Is just this support of the next time I pick up the phone and I call you, we know how juicy this conversation is going to be, right? Like those are the moments I sink into and look forward to. And that's what makes me feel well now, is whether it's with my family and in home or with my clients and in business, is just really holding space for them and being as present as I possibly can and measuring my success by really being the best listener I can. Those are really important things to me. And that's what makes me feel well now.
Yeah, I hear you. Family and relationships. I was just writing this piece for my blog talking about relationships again and how important it is for all of us. And having a support system like you have, it is so cool that you can have the same relationship with your clients and
Mm-hmm.
have them feel the same support and love from you. And that is amazing. Be able to do this work with the same love that you have for your family.
Thank you so much. It's
Yeah.
honestly, it's so rewarding and it's so fun to see it come to fruition, because I've said this to my husband for a million years. I am not built for the masses. That's not who I am. I am, as a creative manifesting generator, I am meant to connect people, and I am not meant to be a 9 to 5 person, even though I've worked in corporate for years. That is not what my makeup is. My makeup and the opportunities that I serve best in are one-on-one, interactions where we can really immerse ourselves in bigger conversations than, what's on the high level agenda for today, like really sinking into the well-being of who's in front of me,
Yeah.
just a personal check-in, which is so important. And I know that you offer the same things through your work, and, kind of bringing it back to community for a second too. What you offer with your nature walk program for all ages is such a huge community piece. And Tyler and I, that you spoke of earlier, we were talking about this at an event a couple weeks back, that it's anybody who holds space for other people, you're open to receiving so much deeper when you put yourself in a position to really let other people explore and heal. And by teaching others a modality that seems very simple, but there's so much thought and positioning, and whether it's, taking the mindful steps to notice all the plants along the way, or if it's meditating once you get to a certain point on the walk, right? Or certain mantras that you repeat to yourself, in silence when you're immersed in nature. Like all of the different elements and pieces that you put together are so beautifully crafted, and it's such a cool outlet. And I love that you're working with young teens or young adults on this, rather. Like I think to have more information and more services out there, especially for young adults, is so cool. And I just have to say that I absolutely love this offering, and I can't wait to share it with everyone. And I'm so excited for you and all of the fun things that you get to share with the world coming up.
Oh, thank you so much. Tell me a little bit about your entrepreneur journey, because you said you are not built to a 9 to 5, although you had a pretty cool job at Chopra. So tell us a little bit about both experiences.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to preface, my entire life was 9 to 5 up until 2020, when I think a lot of lives shift for a lot of people. I always had an eye for marketing, and I was always really interested in being a hospitality generator. That was always what I wanted to do at some level. When I was in college, I thought, okay, with this journalism background of mine, I'm going to be the next Erin Andrews. And I grew up with lots of sports in my family, and I was like, this is it. And then I, realized as a young adult pretty quickly that the journalism careers weren't exactly what I thought they were going to be coming out the gate there, with all of my new information. And when I moved back up to the Santa Barbara County area, my mom again had fallen in love with wine, and so I decided to take a break. I was in the sports industry for quite some time, but decided to take a break when I moved up here and explore hospitality and wine and marketing and wine. So I was actually in the wine industry for about 9 years, and which has been really fun. And wine is definitely something I'm still very passionate about. But as someone who is an energy healer and worker, and someone who's sensitive, being around people that are intoxicated all the time, not saying that it was never any kind of a bar setting, but still, when you're consuming alcohol, it lowers inhibitions, right? So it's all the things. But that, to me, I got to a point where I looked at my husband and I'm like, this industry doesn't serve me anymore. This is not the energy that's conducive to me. It's not what I want to be around anymore. But I loved supporting these winemakers and telling their stories and connecting them, with different news outlets and setting up different collaborations and live events for them. And this was something I was always kind of this one-man operation in the sense of, production. I would do all the things. I would make the flyers, and I would plan the event, and I would execute the events. Like, I was just this all-encompassing person up here in wine country. But the wellness side to me was always ingrained. I was always someone who meditated. Meditation was always important to me. And actually, Deepak's 21-day meditation series that he started with Oprah was something I listened to for a very long time in my life. Like, every time I would see a new cycle of 21-day meditation pop up, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so meant to be, like divine timing. I'm supposed to be listening to this right now in my life. And I always felt connected, a deeper level of connection, not only to exploring the holistic realm, but also to Chopra. I just had always felt a deeper connection, and I resonated with their work. And so in 2020, I had a beautiful offering come into my inbox for an interview. And at that point, I was actually on maternity leave, and I wasn't quite sure if I was going to go back full time or not. My second birth was really hard, and it was traumatic, and there was a lot of healing to do for both myself and my new little guy. I knew that what was probably best for my body was to try to spend as much time as I could healing and helping my baby heal and figuring out what this next layer of everything was. And I received an inquiry from Chopra. And at that point, they were looking for a social media contractor to come in and kind of help navigate everything. And I ended up signing my contract with them. So as my consulting company, which was very cool, 1 week before the first shutdown happened of COVID. And I remember thinking, and like having this conversation with my mom and my husband, right? My tribe. And I'm like, all right, guys, what did I just do? Is this going to make my career? Or is this I think this is such an unbelievable once in a lifetime opportunity, but I'm entering the unknown with all of these people who are, just working at such a high level. Like, what am I just way over my head and over my skis, right? But we knew it felt right, and it made sense, and all of the arrows were pointed in the right direction. And so we went on this journey, and my mom moved in with us during COVID, and she helped me raise my children while I dedicated this time to Chopra. And of course, I had other consulting clients on the side, but they were a big one for me, and our agency. And so that was really amazing. And part of our opportunity doing that was being a part of the moderation behind Chopra's social media channels. And so just to be able to help facilitate the brand voice behind such impactful work was so beautiful and profound and such a cool time in my entrepreneurial journey. It smack dab in this time of unknown that was terrifying for everyone, and no one had any idea what was going on. And right early 2020, like, holy moly, what is happening right now? And then at the end of 2020, I was actually offered a full-time job with Chopra Global, within the company as their marketing coordinator. And I had to take it. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm tabling everything we're doing for my agency right now. Everything can be set aside. I am all in. This is the coolest experience. And I've been on the outside looking in, and now I get to be an insider. Like, and I get to really see what's going on. And it's going to be great. And I'll tell you, I've never been more proud of the teamwork that we conducted at the high level that it was conducted with. I mean, we were pumping out so many campaigns a week, and our marketing team at one point I think there was only 4 of us, and a high level consultant. So it was like the level of work and the amount of work that we did was so incredible. And I think that wasn't just a testament to everyone's talent on the team, but it was a testament to being creatives and being part of a creative team that allowed for space to vent and space to practice well-being activities. Our company culture was wonderful, where we had a wonderful leader that was a big part of that. And I think for me, it was so eye-opening to see, like, this is what it's supposed to be about. You know, we're doing sometimes 9 or 10 Zoom calls a day. And
Wow.
right, all of the employees are all over the world in their homes right now. And thank goodness that we have someone in the company culture department that's scheduled a yoga break if we want for 30 minutes today.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice? You
That
know,
would be my dream corporation to work for.
Honestly, it was wonderful, and they really put some beautiful incentives in. But more than that, the creative team, our marketing team, really checked in on each other. And I wasn't the only person on a maternity leave. We had another gal who also was on maternity leave. It was a part of our creative team, and we were all just able to check in on each other and vent, and also, you know, remind ourselves that this is why we're here, is to create and to take care of our well-being. If we're representing a well-being company, we have to make sure our well-being's in check. And when you're working at a high level, that sometimes companies, you know, don't necessarily nurture their creative teams. And so one of our goals as an agency this year is to really make that a bigger conversation with corporations and agencies and businesses, is how do you nurture your creative team? And, you know, what can you implement into your business structure to really nurture and develop those relationships that, you know, a lot of creative people that are a part of marketing teams are a high ticket personnel, right? And you bring them in and you do all the work to get them in, whether you headhunted them, and then sometimes you put a cap on it and you put them in a box with a bunch of templates, and you're like, here you go, enjoy your time. And it's hard for creatives. And so I think that, yeah, I think there's just a little more conversation to be had there. And that's something that we're trying to do as well on our end. But that's kind of where our entrepreneurial journey is right now.
How have you transitioned back to your company after working for Chopper?
I actually had a 3rd child, which was a beautiful surprise for us. It was not planned. And I realized very quickly that 3 was going to look very different than 2. And it does. 3 feels like 6. I just knew it was going to be different. I was hoping for a really beautiful delivery because my 2nd had been so hard. I meditated so much because I was so immersed in the Chopra work with my 3rd that I was like, this baby is going to come out so chill. And he is still the coolest kid. He's just, all he does is laugh and giggle and sing. And he's just like a ray of sunshine. So I always say the baby's sponsored by Chopra, even though he's really not, obviously. But I think that while I was on maternity leave, really had to sit with myself with that 3rd child and say, I'm so in love with my job and I'm so devoted to what I'm doing, but this looks very different. And I've been so blessed to have my mom as a huge helper and support of my kids, but this looks different for her too. You know, it's different now that there's 3. And And I also knew it was going to be my last baby, and I just wanted to really soak that up. And so I had a big conversation with my husband, and I said, I think, and lots and lots and lots of alligator tears, that I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to go back. I think I really need to sink back into motherhood now and really enjoy three and understand that this is my last baby. And just, I know we need obviously have the additional income. And so I will take clients on the side, as I see fit, and just as they fall into place, but not put that pressure on myself. And just like, I'll give it a timeline, we'll give it a year and just kind of see how it goes. And
then your business just flourished.
it has been so incredible, because what it has allowed me to do, Anna, is spend a lot of time with myself. And by doing that, I really got to know myself and really like get to know who I am at 35 and shed all the layers of myself through my meditation practice, through my practice with my clients. Like everything that I'm doing is just really getting to know who I am and how I can service others in the best possible way. And I feel so good where I am right now. And the connections that I'm making are so impactful, not only for my clients, but for myself. And they're these really beautiful relationships that are going to last a long time. Every day, I just can't believe it. It's because I got to get to know myself, and I sat with myself, and I listened to myself, and I continue to listen to myself, and then I act. And that is working really well. And even though I'm a mom of three kids and there is no balance, balance is so relative. Like there is no balance, right? Everything feels more balanced because I'm living my life in alignment right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. This is the biggest, most important thing. But I
Mm-hmm.
just realized it, and I am 51. So you are like one generation ahead of me. And that is so good because every time I see somebody that is actually finding this alignment earlier in life, I say, yes, this is
Mm-hmm.
what I want. Find alignment at a younger age will bring you just a lifelong journey of joy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm glad that I did find it even at 50. I'm not complaining by any means. I think everything happened for a reason to prepare me to find it at this age, at this point in my life. And I'm really grateful. But if we can help people find it earlier, that is the most beautiful thing we can teach them.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell
So,
you, there are so many people that don't, so many entrepreneurs, if I sit down and we're having a conversation about, let's say, their mission statement for their business, and we read that mission statement together. And I can't tell you how many people, when we read that statement initially, and I ask the question, does this align with you at all personally? Does this align with you at all? How many entrepreneurs really sit and think about it? And how many entrepreneurs say, actually, I don't think it resonates with me at all?
yeah.
And really like fundamentally stopping and sitting and going through all the pieces. Well, what does align with you? What is your dharma? What is your purpose as an entrepreneur? Why are you here?
Yeah.
Like, let's table that piece and just dive into that. And that's what's,
Yeah.
so fun.
Yeah. And I think the work you do, helping them align their businesses and their service in this way, that is like so meaningful because this is what it's going to give the business the purpose and the reason to flourish. It's just having that big mission. And then after you have the mission, you're sad. Mission, vision,
Absolutely.
fruition. Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
That is actually Jim Curtis, head of marketing at IIM. This is one
Mm.
thing that he taught us once that I never forgot. Mission, vision, fruition. Once you have your mission and your vision, take one practical step at a time. So
Oh, that
it
is
just,
so cool. And I
yeah,
love
it is.
this. I and Chopin, and they've integrated and they're doing so many cool things right now. I love this.
Oh, tell me the story behind your company's name. Once you told me, oh, I'm going to tell you this someday. So tell me
Yeah.
today.
So Vino Vaquera Consulting is the name of our company, which is just as confusing to anybody as it should be, and that's okay. Vino Vaquera it started as a blog alias and as a radio personality alias for me when I had moved back to the Santa Barbara County area. And Vino Vaquera is wino cowgirl. And that is what this is. My friends up here were either in the wine industry or they were in the Arabian horse industry. And I was never the horse friend. I was the friend that brought the wine to the horse people. And so that was kind of what I was and what my social circle was at the time. And so that was kind of the persona I built for myself and took on. And it just always felt right to keep it because it had become a piece of me and who I was in this entertainment space. And so I think it'll evolve into a lot of other things someday, but it has always felt right to keep that. So the Vino Vaquera is the wino cowgirl, which is my alias because I'm doing all of these magical things up here in Santa Barbara wine country. And I'm a cowgirl at heart. One of my happy places, if I'm not by the water or I'm not in nature, I'm on the back of a horse. I think there's nothing more humbling than being on the back of a horse. It is a really, really beautiful and cool experience.
Oh, that is very interesting. So you mentioned your spiritual side and being Catholic. How do you started feeling your intuition the way you define it today?
Well, I always felt really connected to Catholicism, and it was something that my mom, had installed in us for a very young age, and we were all baptized Catholic, and she really did her best to immerse us in all of the programs. And we always went to the teen mass at night, even when we were kids, because it was the music and it was the fun and it was the vibe. And she always wanted to be the cool mom and make it really relatable for us and fun. And so I appreciated that growing up. Music was a big part of our life too. And so I think that being introduced to music through the church was really powerful. But I felt like I always had a relationship with God. I believed that there was an afterlife, and I did believe the Bible and I believed the teachings. But also from a very young age, I just always had this sense of urgency, and it wasn't urgency like fight or flight. It was or anxiety. It was this urgency like something is really much bigger for me out there, and I'm supposed to be doing something much bigger. And what's so fun for me, Anna, is my oldest son, who's 7, has that same urgency. And he said to me the other day, he was like, "Mom, I don't know how to explain it, but listen, I understand that I'm only in 1st grade, but I feel like I should be thinking about what my job's going to be, Mom, and what car I'm going to drive. And do you go with me to the dorms when I go to college, or do I go off by myself?" And like all of the things.
Oh my goodness.
He's so capable and curious, and it's so exciting to see all of that. And I don't know, I think that I've always had this urgency that I knew there was more, and I wanted to know what the more was, and I wanted to feel really connected. And I think not having my dad super prominent in my life, there was always that curious piece. Who am I genetically on that side? Like, I know this side of my family, and I love this awesome Danish side that's so loving and nurturing and all of this, but something spiritually in me, there's something else, right? There's another piece of the dangling carrot that's out there somewhere. And I think really spending time alone in college and getting to know myself by myself for the first time as a young, curious, sometimes scared adult, right? Trying to figure out how to do all of these new things by myself. I think that was the first part of my intuition, was I really was tapping into myself by spending time with myself. And my first opportunity to sit and hold space for other people when I was a journalist interviewing someone, and really like understanding and really listening to them. And I realized that after I was interviewing people, I would write down everything that they were saying. And then I would also write my own notes on the side of things that were coming through, points that I thought in my mind were just coming through, like, oh, that was interesting, or I'm not sure why I'm writing that down, but in my mind, I'm writing this down. And these are the things that are happening right now. And I never said them out loud. They were just always something that I would write down on the side and then go, I don't know why I thought that during it, but maybe I was supposed to connect that. And then once in a while, someone would see my piece of paper that I was interviewing. and something would connect on the paper for them.
Huh.
And it was, why did you write the name Claudia down? Claudia is my aunt that just passed away last week.
Oh my gosh.
So little things like that I wasn't really able to explain. I never told my journalism professors about it, like really little things that I thought, wow, maybe this is just a part of my brilliant process as a writer. Who really enjoys people. It's just my own quirky thing, right? That's off to the side. And then I had my first big trauma experience, which was my grandparents passing. And that experience brought me to my knees, and it shook my entire world. And it not only affected me, but it affected my entire family like that. And it was my first introduction into grievance and how people grieve differently, and trying to understand that it's okay for people not to grieve the same way that I was grieving, and trying not to be angry that other people weren't on the same page that I was. And it was interesting to see how my family came together when my grandparents passed. And I was in the room. My grandfather had passed right away. It was a car accident. They were hit by a car actually walking across the street. And my grandfather went right away. He passed at the scene, but they brought my grandmother to the hospital, and she was absolutely without a question there for all of us to say goodbye. And she waited until all of us could get there to say goodbye. And what was so amazing was that there wasn't one scratch on her face after she was in this horrific accident. And she looked so peaceful and so wonderful. And all of the grandkids got to take their turns and go sit in there with her and share experiences with her and their dreams and things that they wanted to accomplish and wishes. And the first thing my mom did for us when we arrived at the hospital to see my grandmother was she had a priest there for us. And we went into the chapel right away as a family. And that was so comforting for me to know that we can call on a higher power. And this felt familiar, and this felt like home, and this felt like family, and it felt spiritually aligned with me at that moment. And I think by actually physically being in the room with some of my other family members when she passed was a really profound moment for me. And it was a kind of a moment where it makes you never afraid to think about passing again, because there was so much peace involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
And even though there's so much loss, there's so much peace. And in between the time we spent there at the hospital, she was surrounded by these wonderful nurses and these wonderful doctors, and they would talk in passing about things that are so unexplainable that happen in these last moments in the hospital, whether it's machinery going off or what the patients are saying they're seeing as they're crossing over. And so it was really interesting to hear those moments. And I always had a really close tie to my grandmother. And I asked my grandmother to always be with me. And I would say a month after she passed, I started feeling her. I started really feeling her. And then sometimes I could smell her, and I could smell her Lancome. I could smell it so strongly, like she just gave me a kiss on the cheek. And I would talk to her. And then I started thinking, well, maybe this is something that I'm just supposed to have with her. And this is going to be my special relationship with her. And I didn't share it with anybody, and I didn't tell anybody what was happening. And then I started asking for specific things. I wanted specific things to show up and to show me that I wasn't so lost in this turmoil, right? That I needed this validation. And every time I started getting those validations. And that was really powerful. And at this time in my life is when I found meditation. And I'm always someone who's been able to function really well in chaos. And that's not by choice. I think it's by design. And so this ability to be able to sit with myself and to have something that was led by a mantra, or it was guided, or there was a sound bath involved, was just so, it was able to put me in the position of being in a spa in my mind without physically having to be there, right? I can hold myself accountable for these 5 minutes and listen to a guided meditation. And I felt like I did something for myself, because I'm a giver and a pleaser. And when you tell me I have to take care of myself, I just roll my eyes, and that's the last thing I want to do. But that is something for me that was really great, is that I was able to hold myself accountable for this little bit of time every day and meditate. And my meditation practice has really foundationally paved the way for a lot of spiritual awakening for me. I've had some really soul shifting moments in meditation. I've had some really beautiful things come into meditation. And I was fortunate enough to meet a mentor a number of years ago who is still very active in my life now, but was a big part of my meditation journey. And she was the first introduction I had to a group meditation. And she was able to see my spirit guide the same day I did, which was the coolest thing I had ever experienced in my life. She did this whole guided meditation for this room, and it was going to be an introductory into possibly meeting your spirit guides on the other side of this door through this guided meditation. And I saw her and I heard her, and she validated every single thing when I came out of that. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is the most mind-blowing moment, that not only did I see it and hear it, but she saw it and heard the exact same thing I did. And I realized I had seen her before, and I had seen her many times before. Whether it was this like lucid daydream moment of mine, I had seen her so many times. And I thought, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense now. And it was just such a wonderful, like, full circle moment for me, and to be able to share that with someone. And so that was in my early adult years, was I really started becoming connected to my spirit guides and being able to channel them through meditation. And then I think experiencing pregnancy, like, while on my spiritual journey, was really interesting, and being able to really try to tap in and connect with my baby and just be really present in the process of doing that, because I was still working full time during my pregnancies, and just, all the things, and just kind of seeing what that was like. But my biggest moments in my spirituality, my biggest coming out moments, or stepping into that next layer of spirituality and guidance, and ability to receive, has been on the heels of trauma every single time, or some big release for me. And it's something that has been such a clear message to me along this journey, especially in the last 5 years, that, Chloe, any of those big moments you're going to have to sink into that knock you off your feet, there's always enlightenment on the heels of trauma. There's always that chance of enlightenment. There's always that light. And it's taught me to go inward and listen versus ugly cry it out to the world, right? Is really to, okay, this is where I get quiet and listen again, because this just broke me, or it shook me, and I just need to understand what that is. And in those moments have been my greatest enlightenment journeys, and being able to have messages that come through for other people is so beautiful and so rewarding. And I think anyone in the energy field or in this industry is always their biggest skeptic until they're validated every single time. I think that's just such a part of the process. And I think it's really fun to be around other spiritually aligned people, because what I have found is that if you are a butterfly person and you're with another butterfly person, it's sharpening your spiritual toolkit, right?
Yes.
So the ripple effect of vibrating high with someone else is just so beautiful. And to get to connect with someone and go down that journey with them together is really cool, whether it's personal or professional. And so,
and being in the same vibration is wonderful for all the relationships.
Yeah. And it's a very big part of relationships, because especially in a marriage, there are times where one of you could be becoming faster than the other, right? Which can look a little frustrating. If you're on this path and you're doing your thing and your partner's just in a different space at that moment, like, those are real things. And I think to be able to find your community to share space with, or to have your partner hold space for you in those moments of, like, you're allowed to sit here. It's okay. It's okay that you're becoming, this next step is around the corner for you. Sit in this moment and really understand why you're here right now and what the messaging is, and ask for guidance. I mean, that is my biggest thing to share with anyone, if I can, is that ask for what you need. Ask for guidance. If you need it to show up for you in a specific way, ask for it to show up for you in a specific way, and it always will. Always.
Yeah. So tell me how you use that, and how your business aligns with your intuition, and because you call it intuitive marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how do you, like, shape all that and with your clients and with the work you do?
Sure.
So people can understand.
Yeah. So it starts from the very ground level of our first one-on-one discovery with each other. So a lot of times our meetings are in person and they are coming with a heavy agenda, and we want it to feel normal and we want it to feel comfortable. And we start with those big questions, and we want to make sure that we talk about your lifetime customer and what the value of your lifetime customer is, and what's our revenue goal for the next, 12 months. And we ask all of the things and all of the points that we need in order to make sure that this relationship is going to get off to the right start professionally. But then we pivot, and in the same conversation, we always ask the 4 soul questions, which are presented by Deepak Chopra and a part of the primordial sound meditation process, which are: who am I? What do I want? What am I grateful for? And what is my purpose? And Anna, I will tell you, when you ask an entrepreneur who has been flying high in that lane for a long time, what their purpose is, sometimes that can bring you to your knees. That's a big question to ask someone. And sometimes, these folks have never even asked themselves that out loud. And so I think we ask you to meet us with a little bit of vulnerability in that moment. And if you are not feeling called to share those answers, or you would like time to think about them, or you want to go home and work them through with your partner, or you don't ever feel like sharing those answers with us, that's okay too. But the way you sink into those questions and your level of comfortability lets us know if we're in alignment to work together and to continue this relationship moving forward, because there is a business coaching side of what we do, which is our spiritual, advisory, which is our holistic background. And so we do try to have meditation moments with our clients. We do have intuitive advisory moments with our clients. And we want this journey to be just as special for them as the end goal. And I think a lot of times what we see and what we try to relay to our clients, what we really deeply work with our clients on the whole journey, start to finish, is when you are driving high in that entrepreneurial lane, you are really, really high in your divine masculine. So every little fire, even if it's a tiny fire, is going to feel like fight or flight. If you don't understand and really feel comfortable sinking into your divine feminine and knowing what that looks like, which is self-care, which is our spiritual toolkit, right? Understanding what it takes to balance yourself out fully. And so that takes a lot of self-discovery work, and that's holding yourself accountable as an entrepreneur. And well, that's great that we were able to finish, the checklist for the week, but what did you personally do to receive this week? Because it's not doing us any good if this whole list is checked off and you are burning all the candles at all ends and you're not going to get out of bed on Sunday, right? So what are we going to do about that? And really finding the love and joy in collaborations and developing creative partnerships and relationships with brand ambassadors and feeling in alignment with people that understand the power of collaborative efforts, something that we really help our clients do as well intuitively, because connections are everything.
Yes.
They're everything. And the power of one really aligned conversation is magical. So we don't want to waste our time. We don't want to waste your time. We want to make sure that every single connecting thread we put together for you is going to blow your mind. And that's honestly, and that's what we tried to do with the podcast interview too. We wanted to make sure that you specifically, and we're going to be able to land in podcast conversations that you were going to get done with these and say, that was so much bigger than just me. Like that just blew my mind. Like those are the moments we wanted you, and we want all of our clients to be able to understand and to enjoy all of the fundamental pieces and elements of building their brand and exposing their brand to the world.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, every single interview that I've done so far, every time I finish, that is the way I feel. My energy level, the passion and the feeling and the high, it has been incredible. I am just loving every single minute of it. Anyway, so tell whoever is listening to us if they feel aligned and if they want to get in touch with you and work with you and have your consulting, how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah. So you can always follow us on Instagram Vino Vaquera Consulting. You can always shoot us a DM there, or you could email us at the Vino, VAQUERA at yahoo.com. Those are two fabulous ways. But if you head over to our Instagram, you can check out some of our latest work and kind of see the partners that we are aligning ourselves with for the 2024 calendar year.
Excellent. So I'll have all this in the notes. I feel so honored to have you here, Chloe, and to have you cheering for me this whole time. That was just a blessing. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. The pleasure was all mine. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much for listening. It means a lot to me that you chose to be here. To help Mama Terra's mission of making the world a disease-free place for generations to come, you can follow the show, write a review, or talk to your friends about it. You can also subscribe to my newsletter. Every week, I craft good health and wellness tips, recipes, and book recommendations with love and care, just for you. My intention is to give you information and resources to help you make good choices and feel well. Find the link to subscribe in the show notes. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you again for being here. We have lots of new episodes coming up, so stay tuned. And remember, good is what makes you feel well.
Toma banho de cachoeira, abraça uma pessoa amiga, corre na chuva, escala